Good morning, or good wherever this finds you. Good day. You are currently, right now, if you are not aware, if this is not consensual, I want you to know you are getting poked by me. So if you don't want to get poked by me, then you might want to flip the channel, whatever that means. Please subscribe to my YouTube if you like YouTube. If you prefer a more non-commercial atmosphere, which is my preference, please click on my links or go to Patreon, look for Getting Poked by Laura, and you can subscribe to my podcast for free. I am here to answer health questions. I'm here to, and when I say health, I mean top to bottom, inside and out, up and down. And it's not just of your body, but it's also of society. I'm a physician of East Asian medicine, and I'm an activist. And in fact, I'm here today to discuss the topic of work and activism and the different forms that it can take, and to have a more nuanced conversation. So I just want to offer my experience, my personal take on things, and share some thoughts about work in America and this moment in America, and how I've come to embody this moment in time and my particular story. I hope it's helpful. Let's see, before we dive into that, so Patreon, Getting Poked by Laura. Please become a member there. It's my honor to have you, and I would appreciate it. My goal ultimately is 1 billion people, but I'll be happy to start with 100 people, and then we'll go to, 1,000, and then we'll go to 10,000, and then we'll go to 100,000, and then we'll get to 1 million, and then we'll eventually get to 1 billion. I'm thinking 1 billion's doable within, a year. We just need to catch a little fire. So yeah, I need to put this pen down. I have this really cool pen that I got as a gift. It's gorgeous. It's green. It's made in London. What's it called? Scrivener. I need glasses. So what day is it? It's Thursday, March 27th. We got some snow again. It snowed like 6 days in a row since all the big snow of the winter melted. We got quite a bit, but it's heating up to 40 some degrees now, so it's melting. Got mostly blue skies, a few little clouds here in Vermont, and I've been mostly having an intuitive morning, which for me is a little bit of a new thing that I'm trying to be more conscious with. I'm kind of coming through a birth canal right now. I've had 5 years of, if you're familiar with the Tower card in astrology, or not in astrology, in tarot. So, right, this idea of the tower falling, right? Shadows being revealed, truths being revealed. It's a little bit like the death card in a way, where people think death card, oh no, but usually the death card is good luck. It's good news because it means the death of something that needs to die, and the rebirth. It's really about what comes next. And so that comes with the Tower card. So I've had a really destructive 5 years, outwardly. And I think, both. It was shadow work for me because my life seemed so great. I felt like I'd done a lot of great things, and it was all beautiful, and it was ideal, and it was great. But the truth was, at the core, there were some core things there that weren't working. And 2020 and everything that happened, and how it revealed the shadow side of our country to me in a way that I hadn't seen. And specifically, I mean, as a mother, because prior to COVID, motherhood was just a beautiful part of my life because I could sustain myself. I had education, I had work, I had an able body, I was willing, capable, and I've been working since I was 11 years old, paying into Social Security for 40 years. And then COVID hit, and, and what was it? At the end of the day, things happened in my life, right? Like my ex-husband, he was a new ex-husband. We'd been together for 25 years at that point. He wasn't available, but that happens in life. Sometimes people have issues, they have health issues, they have mental health issues. Things happen to people. That's normal. He's allowed to be human, even if, it's painful and all the rest of it. But what happened at the same time was that COVID happened, and that, as Katie Porter put it, that systemic sexism that is built into our government, right? Where we don't support women and we don't support children, and therefore we don't support men because we don't support families. So we make men the pillar of all things because patriarchy, I mean, that's what patriarchy is, you know, it's systemic sexism. And as she pointed out, like, you know, when you break down statistically our Congress, it is by and large white, it is by and large men, it is by and large heterosexual white men, and many of whom are very wealthy and who are older. And so that demographic is not going to vote for things that they don't understand because they have wives who take care of their kids' schedules and they have money to do all those things. And or they're older and their kids are grown, right? That their agendas don't lie with their voter base. Because people support things like universal childcare, which the entire Congress passed when I was born. And Nixon vetoed it. So for the entirety of my lifetime, there has been no real support or childcare for women and children, which never impacted me. Why? Because I had privilege, because my mom was educated, college educated. She had a great job in the public education system. She was married to a man who had privilege in that he was born into generational wealth, and he got to run various facilities in healthcare. And so we had money. And so my parents both worked, and I was put in quality childcare. They didn't have to worry about the fact that there was no support. Nobody paid for preschool. There was no help for, you know, and none of it impacted me because I didn't have children until I was 41 years old. I had already had a couple of careers. I had sustained my own life as an adult from go, pretty much. You know, my life was good. But my relationship had shadows, thus the divorce. Okay, that's one layer. And then COVID hits, and there is no systemic support because there is systemic sexism, because we don't support women and children. And even though I knew that as a concept, I'd studied it, I believed, you know, I voted in line with that, I didn't understand its true impact until it happened to me at 45 years old. And as a result of that systemic sexism, I have not had work to support myself in 5 years. The first time since I was 11 years old, I have not had a job. And the first time since I was 20 years old that I have not had a job to sustain myself. I was the breadwinner primarily in my marriage. And that's not because he wasn't doing his part. That's because I'm a badass. I'm capable, you know. So I'm going to tie this into what this is about, because where I am at in this moment of this birth canal is recognizing and sort of being through the actual trauma. Like I've sort of normalized to it. Okay, I did lose my practice. That happened. I'm never going to be able to get that back that way. That life is gone. Those friends are gone. That network of people I built over 20 years is gone. And accepting that, grieving that, and doing it on my own, you know, without the benefit of community, because the rest of the freaking community was gone and the rest of the world was all grieving and traumatized and the rest of it. That's where we've been. And so now we're in this new moment where things are happening, right? The earth, the ground is rumbling. People understand that change is here. It's time for change. So where are you in this moment? How do you show up in this moment? So I show up in this moment as a person who was devastated personally and professionally by what went into place in March of 2020 and the lack of support within the social political system that I am a part of. It hit me square in the face. It didn't matter I was educated. It didn't matter that I was a physician. It didn't matter that I had a license to practice medicine. It didn't matter that I had experience and knowledge and wisdom and willingness. It didn't matter, because at the end of the day, there was no one there to take care of my child or to support me financially to keep me going until something changed. It was just, sorry, if you can't do it yourself, even though we were driving the truck that ran over you, right? We have to carry insurance for the cars we drive. We have to take responsibility for our actions. The government didn't. So in that process of grieving, that was very traumatic to me. I'm 5 years out. We're March 2025, so it's been 5 years since that all began. And so now I'm trying to figure out how to start again, because I've landed somewhere, I have some stability, I'm healing the trauma, I'm letting go, I'm relaxing, all while the world is heating up. It's so odd. Like, I've been in trauma for 5 years so severely that I've been lost in it. I got sucked into it. And now I'm coming out of the trauma and I see everybody else going into trauma. And the more interesting thing to me is that the trauma is the stuff that I woke up to and was a part of protesting and being awake and aware to, and protesting on many levels, by the way. Literally in the streets because I was young and able-bodied and excited and I could, and so I did. Protesting through the way that I lived and choices that I made. Protesting through my intellectual pursuits. Learning to become a critical writer and thinker of social justice and understanding Supreme Court decisions. Right? Formulating thoughts, becoming a part of the conversation of academia. That was my activism. And then I graduated and didn't know what the hell to do and went into corporate work. And anyone who's had a corporate job or who works for a big entity and has been there for a long time, like, there's a regimentation, right? And this is kind of where I'm going with this conversation today, is the ways that we're regimented, the patterns and habits that we're in. This is some of the stuff I work with yoga on. Yoga really helps me to get these concepts dug into my body and not just my mind. Right? So you have to become regimented when you go into the workforce. It's not the academic environment. I could have gone into law, I could have taken that intellectual pursuit into something but I wasn't drawn. Like, I wanted to go to law school, but I didn't have the whatever, to do it. I was done with school at that point. So I went into the corporate world, went into the corporate world with that education. And it was tough, but I became very regimented, as we have to, right? You just got to get up and do it. Just get up and do it. Just keep going. Just get up and do it. And pretty soon, years in, you're like, oh my God, this is a rat race. Like, I'm just working this hard to pay for things that I can't even get joy out of because I'm so tired and stressed out and I actually hate my job. Like, what is this about? Like, talk about sucking the life out of you, but so you look for reasons, you find reasons, jobs that are more fulfilling, new challenges, better relationships, whatever. But at the end of the day, for me, that work, as I climbed up the ladder and got better paying jobs and new skills, and I was 30, and I was miserable. I had no time to look at my own life or myself. I had all this education and I was working in an environment that was so toxic. And so, so I'm regimented, right? I know how to work. I know how to put my nose to the grindstone and get up and do it. But it was killing me and I was miserable. And so I went to therapy and found an amazing person. I got very lucky, if you believe in such things. And we just talked. She was like a mother with boundaries and supportive, educated love. And she helped me figure out, without ever introducing me to it, that I need to look into this Chinese medicine thing. I didn't know what the hell it was, really. It was just, And I did that, and that matched the two things up. Okay, I have to work, I have to make money, I have to live in this world. I don't fit in this world, I don't think like this world. I see the racism, I see the sexism, I see the ableism. I see the phobias of every other kind of person from me, sexually, gender, whatever, all of it, and the world didn't care. The world didn't give a shit. In fact, Fox News and all of these other networks were formed to combat the world that I came from. Wokeism. Literally a force of people in the country to marginalize and belittle and be hateful on people like me, you know, who were socially aware and who saw that this country has serious problems. And that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, you know. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that we have problems. And that's one of the things that's difficult for me in this moment, because I see a lot of people waking up for the first time to just how deep these issues are in our society. You know, that apartheid is a direct reflection for the US, but we have our own special set of stuff. Like, we are not South Africa. You know, we are our own nation with our own history and our own very special knotted issues, and we have a lot of work to do as a country. And I think people have become very complacent because of the post-World War II era of industrialization, of women getting into the workforce, of civil rights, like, and it's good that this all happened, in my opinion. But we became complacent thinking this is the way it's always been, when it's still not even this way. Like, there's still a lot of illusions that we have. And it's this tower mentality, right? Things, now is the tower time for a lot of society. My tower time in my personal life and in my professional life, as it affected it, was 2020. Because I had built a beautiful life based on work that I believed in, that aligned with my spirit and my soul, moving into care, moving into a different paradigm of thinking, something that was more fluid and open and thoughtful. Being able to participate in capitalism in a way that for me felt ethical, where I could take the money from people who had it and I could distribute my services in any other way that I saw fit, because I was allowed to live a life where I got to do this kind of work, you know? So I was living in alignment, and I was married and we had a baby and I was healthy and happy. And so I thought everything was good. And then 2020 showed, nope, underneath it, you are not fundamentally not supported in your society. These issues still affect you. And even ones you didn't know about, now you really get to see what this is like to be thrust into poverty, to see what it's like to be a mother without support at 45. This is what this looks like. And now I'm 50, you know, and we've gotten through it. But that world got crushed. My marriage got crushed. You know, I got to see the truth of everything. And so I'm 5 years post-truth. And now here we are, and everybody else's tower is falling. Wait, what? Fascism? I saw this thing this morning on Blue Sky where somebody posted something about fascism and how, like, fascism's almost here. And somebody replied and said, do you think this is like the McDonald's Monopoly game and you have to somehow collect all the properties for fascism to fully be here? Like, fascism is here. You know, just stop, literally look up the definition of the word, understand what you're talking about, you know, like, it's here, right? So for a lot of people, this is a very scary time, because I don't think people have truly examined this stuff. And I understand why. One thing I've developed over the decades in order to survive in this culture and in this society, and I mean that very literally, like, I've never been suicidal in any way that, like, I needed someone to watch over me, but truly not wanting to be a part of the culture that you're in because of how asleep it is and how sick it is, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, politically. It's been hard. So I, over the years, have found a lot of compassion for people, because people are conditioned. They're born into it. And you're not encouraged to go get the kind of education that I had. And it's certainly not a part of the regular curriculum. And we see why. Because when you empower people with knowledge, history, information, and specifically the skill of critical thinking, you free people. And you have a free society. And a free society does not allow for things like billionaires. And if you don't know what I mean by that, it's not just a catchphrase. Like, a billionaire is an unnatural thing to be. The only way to be a billionaire is to do so unethically. And I think there are billionaires out there who get that, who, just like us, right? Like, they were whatever, born into privilege, or maybe they got lucky. But there's no way to be an ethical billionaire. It's not possible. So people were born into a system. They're kept ignorant on purpose. They're slaves to the system. Like, a friend of mine said this recently, and I couldn't have said it better myself. Like, this entire system was built on slavery. Slavery has never left this country. We've just changed the way that slaves look. And there's different levels of slavery. Like, even as another friend of mine on here pointed out, white collar workers, right? They're at the top of the food chain. in this capitalistic system. Top of the food chain, white collar. But you know what they still have? A collar. There's a reason that we say collar, white collar, blue collar. They're collars. You are a slave to the system of profit. And more and more and more, like any absolute system, absolute power corrupts absolutely. You know, healthcare should never be a part of a profit system. Radical Roots is someone that I follow on TikTok, and she posted a video. She's a physician of Chinese medicine, and she posted a video talking about how she never realized, I think she's a bit younger than me, she never realized that the Western medical system was basically an MLM. I just immediately, I was like, yep, you nailed it. It is. It's a multi-level marketing scheme. It has nothing to do with health. It has nothing to do with care. It's like food in our country has nothing to do with nourishing you, feeding you, keeping you healthy. It's only about profit. That's it. And people are slaves to this. We are slaves. We are literal slaves to capitalism. It is capitalism out of control to the point that now we have progressed into an oligarchy, right? So in this moment where everyone's waking up and everyone's tower is falling and everyone's illusions are falling and they're realizing, oh shit, you know, and it takes time to absorb this, but we're in a time of quick learning. You got to learn now. You got to learn fast, and you got to learn now, and you got to go for it. And hopefully you can hear voices that you resonate with, like mine. I don't know how good of a job I'm doing, but I'm trying to. So my role is no longer in the street. At least, I mean, I'm going to take my child to some protests. I think educating him is a huge part of my role right now, which I think is my role in general right now, because I'm 50. And when Roe v. Wade got overturned, the first thing I did was call one of my old professors from my undergraduate years, because Roe v. Wade was my final paper for my bachelor's. And it was a very memorable paper and a very memorable experience, because I submitted it to 2 classes and 2 different professors, one male, one female. And the grades were slightly different, and the feedback was very different. And 25 years later, Roe v. Wade was overturned, which was what my paper was about. And I called her distraught, you know, and I think in that protest part of me, I was still in my 20s. You know, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm 50, right? And not when that was overturned. I was a little younger, but, you know, late 40s. And I called her, and she's older than me. And her tone with me was very, like, sort of annoyed almost, but, you know, she's a little crabby. But she was like, your role is not to fight in the streets anymore. Like, if you want to go protest, great. But young bodies do that. And in this case, in this time, the cue I'm taking from the community around me, who have darker skin than myself, is that it is also not their role to be in the street. They have been doing that for decades. This is largely white people's work and young people's work. I mean, but we need elders, right, to lead it. So that's what she was saying. She's like, you're here for wisdom. You're here for leadership. You're here for guidance. You're here to support. And I liked that. It was a relief, because we all have to do our part, but we're all here in different bodies and different life experiences and different capabilities. You know, the question is, are we stepping up to what our capabilities are and recognizing that this is the moment? You know, this is one of those moments in history right now, because we literally do have a fascist dictator, autocratic, oligarchic, Russian sympathizer, at the least, leading our country and trying to destroy our systems. And you know what? Maybe you don't believe some of these systems need to be there or they need to be changed. That's fine. But there are ways to do that. You don't just let a king in and let him trample over. So this is a moment. This is a moment in American history. It's an important one. It is going to be a huge part of our history if we survive global warming, you know, and all the rest of this. So that's, I think, my role, and something that I am working on to sum this up, because this is about work. This is about how we show up. That's my point to all this. Remember, I mentioned yoga and my work in yoga. My work in yoga is first to be present always. What am I feeling? What am I experiencing? What is my work today? Where do I feel X, Y, and Z? And then it's to reorganize my body, because we all get into patterns and habits. We get into patterns and habits with how we stand with our feet, with how we hold our back, with where we put our neck, with where our shoulders are, with how tight our jaw is. with repetitive thoughts. We get into patterns and habits. And when our bodies get into patterns and habits, they lose space, they lose mobility, they lose flexibility. And so through yoga, I reorganize my bones and my muscles. I take notice of things, and that work is to reorganize my internal body. And after yoga, I always feel reorganized. I have more space. I feel less tense. I feel more free. I feel more capable, and I feel more flexible with stability, because I've put things back in place and I've reorganized and I've paid attention to the bad habits. So that's, I think, what this work is, and that we're all in right now. And for me, what I am experiencing in this moment is that not only am I being called to step into something different, to be where I am and offer what I have, but also the way that I approach it. So for the last 5 years, I've kind of been in the same mindset of the Los Angeles business person and entrepreneur that I was when 2020 hit, which is go, go, go. Go, go, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, right? I took my corporate mindset into my small business, into my more entrepreneurial things. And that's how I was successful, because that corporate mindset of show up, show up, show up, do it, do it, do it, right? That's how you succeed. You succeed by showing up, by not giving up, by continuing to go. That's how you succeed. That's my mindset. So for the last 5 years, being a mother with no support, or very little support, and certainly not the support that I need, because there shouldn't be such a thing as a single mother, in my opinion. I think it is the sign of a sick society. It's a social problem. It's everywhere. But I can't do that anymore. And I have tried for 5 years to do that in various ways, while running around, while trying to keep my kids safe, stable, healthy, loved, while navigating all kinds of ridiculous obstacles and hardships and home instability after a couple of years. So, let's also start a business. Let's also keep being a physician. Let's also keep taking care of other people. Let's get another license. In this state that I live in this one. And how do I start a business now from nothing and scratch, while also raising my child alone and trying to, maintain my own mental and physical health? Too much. So in this 5-year moment, what I'm stepping into is very uncharted territory. How do I move through this world in a way where I can get what I need, support myself, support my child? Maybe it's not on my own. It's like I'm questioning everything, but it's not go, go, go. It's not the corporate mindset. It's not what I learned from the patriarchy. Those were, helpful skills, and I'm glad that I have them. And when I need to lean into them, I always can, but it is not the way. It's not working. And so I'm stepping more into the flow, intuition, trusting myself, waiting for the moment, trusting what brings me joy, like being guided predominantly by my intuition, and really allowing for that to happen, and not keeping the penitente whip on myself. If you don't know what the penitentes are, look it up. It's self, like, I'm not good enough, keep going. Like, you deserve punishment, life is hard. So look at how your life is organized. As you move through wherever you are in your tower moment, whether that's with your health, whether that's with politics, whether that's with, waking up to your own life challenges or whatever, reorganize habits. Okay. What time are you going to bed? Do you need to go to bed earlier? Do you need to stay up a little bit later? What time are you waking up in the morning? Same questions. How's your food? What are you putting in your body? Are you nourishing yourself? Are you paying attention? What about your relationships? You know, are there people that you need to let go of? Are there situations you need to let go of because they don't serve you? Because the more freedom and space you have, the more you reorganize the bad habits of your life, the more you reorganize the discomfort in your life, and you begin to come at your life in a new way, the more space you're going to have to be able to be organized in yourself and available to make the changes that need to come. And it's not easy, and it's not always intuitive. It can be very clunky and unfamiliar. And painful. You know, maybe I'll end on this. When I would have people come to me, usually, not always, but very often, people try holistic medicine, specifically East Asian medicine, aka Chinese medicine. They come to these things because nothing else is working. It's like, I've given up, so why not? And then they come and they're like, typically people have a very good experience with me the first time. Typically, not always, but typically. And when people stick around for the process of healing, one of the conversations that we always have is that healing is not going to be an all downhill, all blissful, all progress forward kind of thing. The body is a very intelligent and intuitive thing, and it knows better than your brain does. And healing, just like when you break a bone, healing a bone, great, it's healing. Yep, it's healing up. But you know what happens? There's pain in there. There's pain from healing. And you have to do physical therapy, which is hard and takes work and is painful. Healing a bone is no different. Or healing a shoulder or a digestive issue, or, sorry, my camera's moving around there on TikTok, is no different than healing, you know, life choices, past trauma, a whole ass society that needs reflection and engagement of its citizens. Like, it's gonna be, there's gonna be pain. You cannot avoid pain. And I know that that's why people avoid change, because they don't want to be in pain. They don't want to be in discomfort. And I get that. Who does? Nobody does. We all avoid it. But the people who are better, or who become better at understanding that that discomfort and that pain is a part of how you get to a better place, and it's the only way that we get to a better place, like, it makes the work worth it, because you know the why. So I changed my life one day at a time from the time of my 20s. I started off learning, educating myself, becoming an activist in many ways, becoming an anti-racist and anti-bigot, which is huge to be an anti-racist and anti-bigot in the 90s. There wasn't a lot of it. There weren't a lot of white women doing that work, and I was very well aware of that. It was sad. It was embarrassing. It was painful. You know, so I started there, and then I went into corporate work, and then I got to experience that and look at that and be aware and awake with that. And then I was like, fuck this shit. It's going to kill me. And I moved into, you know, East Asian medicine. And that aligned me. It aligned my life with my beliefs. And then the work goes on, you know, and then I explain the rest of my story. This is life. Anybody of age knows this. You go on many journeys and experience many things. So what's your part? What's your work? Where's your work today? You know, stay focused on that. It's not going to look the same. Everybody's different. It's all valuable. We need everybody to show up who's willing to and who can. And don't think that whatever your part is, that it's not important, or that it doesn't matter because it doesn't look like somebody else. That's not the case. All right, I need to get in my microphone here because my computer, I don't know how to keep it open. I got to work on my screensaver. Anyway, you got poked. It was a long one, 34 minutes and 45 seconds. All right, bye.